Gulfstream today. I'm Katie Stazak, and today I am joined by track announcer Pete Aiello. Ron Nicoletti is out of town for a few days, so we are going to be breaking down all of the great action here at Gulfstream Park, and it is just another beautiful day. Sound like a broken record, but I'm not complaining.
Well, I have two goals here today, Katie. I have a wagering goal as it relates to today's Pick 5. We have a Pick 5 carryover. We have a Rainbow 6 carryover. But with Ronnie gone, I think that means that you're the one I have to win the pancake breakfast from.
I was worried you were going to say that. I'm more of a waffles girl than a pancakes girl.
We can do waffles. Waffles will work.
But we have some pretty great carryovers that Pete mentioned. The first of those is in the Rainbow 6. That's going to span races 3 through 8 today with an 8-race card, a carryover of more than $58,000. And you can bet that is going to continue to grow as we approach race number 3. We also have that carryover in the Pick 5. That is more than $23,000. That's going to start in race number 4. And when we have a carryover in the Pick 5, they bet it like crazy. So that's going to reach some pretty big numbers too. But we're going to get things started with the first race. It's a $16,000 claiming event. They're going to go a mile and a 16th on the turf course. It's for 3-year-olds and upward, non-winners of 2 in lifetime. And we have just one scratch in here. That is the 7 Grease Paint. And we're going to take a look at a horse in this race that I like very much. We'll see if Pete has him on his ticket, and that is Royal Rogue. And this is his last race from April 17th. It's a $25,000 optional claimer, and I just love the company that Royal Rogue has been running with. You're going to see him. He's the 6th in this race. He's going to make a 4-wide bid to get up for 3rd, and the horse that he finishes behind is a horse named Escondido, who is much the best this day in winning his 3rd straight race, as well as Fire Blue, a horse that we're going to see a little bit later on the card. But I think Royal Rogue in this race should really appreciate some extra real estate after coming on late to get up for 3rd, going a mile, going to get a mile and a 16th today, dropping out, like I mentioned, out of some competitive starter allowances, going to run for a tag for the first time since he broke his maiden last December.
Yeah, I think you're right about the fact that Royal Rogue does get a significant class relief here this afternoon. The question you have to ask yourself is there's 2 horses in here that have big-time form reversals when taking to the turf. They're the 2 Eduardito, who Mike Welsh likes on top, and the outside horse, the 8 Crazy Bull, who I like on top. Crazy Bull was a 7-length winner when put on the grass last time out. It was his first start on turf. It was his first start on around 2 turns, and he turned it around big time that afternoon. You have to ask yourself, is he ready to do that again? But I think that at 7-1 early in the wagering, I'll find out.
A great value. I also have Crazy Bull on the ticket, and he's been working very well at Palm Meadows, turning a bullet move on May 8th to tune up for this start. He's going to be fresh, not having raced since March, but it's always tough facing winners for the first time. Pete, who else do you have on that ticket in Eduardito?
Well, we have the same 3 horses, it's just a slightly different order. The 3 Wildcat Kitten, if he goes off odds on, he's a horse that I'll try to take a stand against. He doesn't really have that much of a turn of foot, so tactically he's at somewhat of a disadvantage. He's going to have to get himself in a good spot. But the good news is you get leading jockey Tyler Gaffleone, who can definitely put him in the good spot that he needs to be in. He's a horse that has been against non-winners of 2. Katie, as you touched on, we have some horses in here that are coming out of different divisions. Royal Rogue definitely taking a drop in class, and then you have to figure out how the maidens stack up against winners. I think that both Eduardito and Crazy Bull, both well spotted for their first start against winners.
And obviously have to respect the connections there with Wildcat Kitten and Mike Maker, Ken and Sarah Ramsey, also a son of Kitten's Joy on the grass. Never want to overlook that here, especially at Gulfstream Park. So we'll take it right to the second race. On today's card, this is a $50,000 claiming event. 3-year-olds and upward, non-winners of 2 in life, going to be going a mile this time on the turf course. Just scratch the 8th. That's Ross Durant, your main track only participant. And we've got another video to show you. I mentioned him in the last race. Fire Blue is a horse that I like on top in here, but we're going to show you a video of another horse in this race, and that is Stock. And this was from April 23rd. This is a maiden claimer with a $50,000 tag, and Stock is going to get his maiden breaking victory in this race. You're going to see him angle along the rail. An opening on the rail comes up, and he takes advantage. He's going to get up over Little Chris A. and Dreaming of Frank, who would come back to break his maiden last Friday. Again, going to be facing winners for the first time. That's a tough angle, but I think he showed a lot in that first race where he can get another piece of it today.
what do I say? Dead air time here. I'm trying to come up with a thought where I can agree with that. Stock is a horse that he does make some sense. He has some form. I think his maiden tag was a bit inflated. And what I mean by that is he's taking on solid $50,000 horses today. But I think last time out, he's not in against $50,000 maidens, even though that was the category of the race. A lot of times with the maiden ranks, they're trying to find where they fit and just put them in when they can get in. So I wasn't a huge fan of the field that he beat the last time. I'm a bit surprised, though, looking at the picks. This might have to be one of the waffle races. Akati's Ice, last 2 starts ago, got beat 4 lengths to a horse that I know you're a big fan of. I'm a big fan of him. He came back to win a stake, talking about Rizwan, so he's taking a big drop in class here this afternoon. He has an inside gate. He'll need pace to run at. That is the big problem with a lot of the horses in here. I don't see much speed here, Katie.
Yeah. I think a horse, speaking of class, is a horse that I mentioned earlier. Fire Blue is who I put on the top of the ticket. And he's going to be a common thread today, that Escondido. Fire Blue finished second to him twice during Escondido's 3-race win streak and gets in a much more favorable spot today. The class relief comes into play. He, too, has not run in a straight claiming race since he broke his maiden last October. Apprentice Harry Hernandez is going to be aboard. He has been riding so well here at Gulfstream, and I just think this one is the class of the field. Had to put him on top.
Well, he also has a huge tactical advantage. I said there's not a whole lot of speed in here. Fire Blue has speed, so jockey Harry Hernandez should have him well placed early on in the race. In fact, he should probably be in front. He'll be tracked by the number 2 horse in here, Run Saichi, who made my ticket based on that fact. I'll take first run at Fire Blue, figuring that he has a chance for the spoils. But I think that Run Saichi's another horse. He may get forgot about a little bit. That's what wind does to you, but I don't need any of that. High Noon Rider was the horse that he got beat to by last time out. That was a nice runner from the barn of Mike Maker. He keeps good company that last afternoon, and he is a horse that's not facing winners for the first time. He tackled winners no problem last time out, so I agree with you. Fire Blue, horses like Run Saichi, they have a distinct advantage over horses that are taking on winners for the first time.
High Noon Rider, very nice colt. George Weaver trains him, but such a nice colt, big, promising future again. I also had to put the 2 Run Saichi on the ticket. But now we are going to get to the 3rd race, and this is going to be the start of the Rainbow Six with more than $58,000 in the pool. Another turf race on tap. $12,500 claimer. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, going to be going 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. Again, just scratch your 2 main track only participants. Those are Language of Love and My House, the 10 and the 11. Pete, who'd you go with there?
The 3, Lady Joyful. I think she'll be a bit of a price in here. I can draw a line through her last race, just as we should draw a line through 5 and 9's last race. Lady Joyful gets Eddie Castro here this afternoon. Pretty big rider switch. Also takes a pretty significant drop in class. No Maydells or Wild About Jasses in this race. Lady Joyful has a win over this turf course, and trainer Antonio Sano. That's the strength of this pick for me. Sano's been red hot the last 5 or 6 racing days. So I'll go with her on top in a race that is very, very deep. If you're playing the Rainbow Six sequence, my suggestion would be to try to get alive, go top heavy, as we say, get alive in the first couple races, and then hope you're right later on.
Couldn't agree more. I have at the top of my notes here, I'm giving 5 and 9's the edge in a wide open affair because there are a lot of horses you can go with. And you mentioned throwing out 5 and 9's last race. You have to. She was actually eased in her last start in April 29th, but that was because of the surface. She was somewhat forwardly placed early, but she just faded over a very tiring, sloppy surface, did not seem to be getting a good hold of the track at all that day. She didn't handle the slop, and you know what? She didn't handle the wet going the last time she ran on such a surface either. Obviously, turning around this quickly to come back and run shows you that there was nothing physically wrong with her coming out of the race, and I'm going to give her another shot today.
The biggest problem that she'll have is a tactical disadvantage with the speed, stretch-out speed of Arichia Princess from the 6 post, and then you also have My Mom Santina from the 7 post. So the thing about 5 and 9's is she's much better on the dirt, on the grass. That you cannot dispute. But if she has pace pressure, she's a horse that might be vulnerable when they turn for home.
You mentioned Arichia Princess. I have her on the ticket in 3rd. Going to stretch out from 5 furlongs for trainer Jose Pinchin and take a class drop 2 starts back. She finished 4th at the distance against $20,000 claimers. Going to be stepping down, obviously, for this start. And a daughter of Aragorn, bred to love this distance.
Only problem is from Richia Princess's past races going 2 turns, she's had no problem securing the lead, but when it comes to crunch time, she kind of folds up. So there's not a lot of speed. So if you're Jonathan Gonzalez, you send, and send again. Hope she clears. Hope they can't track her down. The turf course has been favoring horses on or near the lead lately, so that's good news for her. You talked about class relief. Another horse getting class relief is the 8 Wild Heiress. Wild About Jazz, Katie's Kiss, I Will Be Free, and Sunrise Kitty in the company lines. Huge drop in class. And that's the thing about these races. It doesn't look like a huge drop in class on paper, but when you look at the company lines and you consider the company lines versus the last couple races to this race, it is a big drop in class, even though it's wide open to wide open.
As we mentioned, plenty of options in this race, so we'll take it to the 4th now. This is another $12,500 claiming event. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, going to be sprinting 6 furlongs on the main track, and this race will begin the pick 5 with that $23,000 plus carryover. So if you're out of the Rainbow 6 early in that wide open first leg, you could make it up here in the pick 5 and still get plenty of money. I went with the 8 Climate Change on top here from the trainer Stanley Goldbarn. 3-year-old filly, so she meets the conditions of this race despite being on a 2-race winning streak, scored a determined half-length victory last time out on April 22nd, set the pace and was able to hold on going 7 furlongs, and that was her first start in more than 2 months and her first start against winners. I was very impressed by that. I like that she's cutting back to 6 furlongs. I think that's probably her best distance. She was a 2 1/4 length winner at the distance when she broke her maiden back in February. We'll see if she can continue the streak today. Pete, I see you went with the 1, and that is Gigo.
Yeah, Gigo gets Miguel Vasquez for trainer Agustin Becerra, but here's the thing about Climate Change. She's going to take all the action, and she should. As you touched on, she's won her last 2 races. She has an outside post. Again, this race doesn't have a whole lot of speed in it, so Sudin's going to have his things his own way with the outside horse, Climate Change. She's going to be a single in a lot of people's pick 5s and pick 6 tickets. I don't know that I can single her. I'll have to go a couple deep in here, including the 1 Gigo. Miguel Vasquez riding so well. As you touched on, the key here is if you're 3, you can win as many races as you'd like. If you're older than 3, you have to have only won 1 race. Now, for me, I'll take the multiple winners against the non-winners of 2 horses, even with the age differential. That's what you have to decide here. Katie and I both seem to agree with that ideology. Climate Change is a 2-time winner, so is Gigo. I'll think Gigo gets the late rundown on that favorite in race number 4.
Well, it seems like Climate Change is the only common thread among our selections in this race, but I do want to touch upon the 4, Roxy Lucy from the Wesley Ward barn. Going to have freshness on her side. Hasn't run since March 29th when she finished 2nd, beaten just a half length in what was her first start against winners. Has a win in 2 seconds in just 3 starts at this distance. Think she figures in this race and always have to respect trainer Wesley Ward. Who else do you like in here, Pete?
The 2 Appealing Beauty made the bottom of my ticket. She gets a rider switch from Prado to Castro. That's a lateral move in terms of talent, but in terms of style, it's much different. Prado much more deft with his hands. Castro much more an aggressive rider. I think that'll suit Appealing Beauty. She cannot afford to get too far back here.
All right, we'll take it to the 5th race now, and this is a $12,500 claiming event. 3-year-olds and upward have not won 2 races. Will be going a mile on the main track. Full field of 8 will go to the post. No scratches or jockey changes. I went with the 7 on top. That is Lucky Delfino, and looks like, Pete, we're in agreement.
Yeah, I want to know, can you want to go halves with me, $6,250, and we'll go partners and claim them?
I was actually considering that because I think this horse is just beautiful, very good looking, with just a great physical presence, always looks fantastic before every race. They really had high hopes for this horse after he broke his maiden at first asking here last August. Unfortunately, it just hasn't really panned out for him. There is a little bit of a red flag with such a class drop in this instance, but I think this is a horse that really is just in need of a confidence boost. Take a look at the company. We've mentioned company lines. He ran in the Isla Morada handicap behind Florida Derby winner Materiality, and Stanford, and was running in upper level allowances. The blinkers come off today, which I like. He ran his best races without them, and I just think that he makes sense here, even though there are some question marks in why there's such a big drop.
I agree completely. Even Air Squadron in the company line last time out, he was a very astute claim from the White Rabbit Racing outfit. He was very, very well good in that last race. He went 3/4 in 1:10 and just kept right on rolling. Lucky Delfino's a horse. I don't know, are they giving up on him? Or, as you said, are they trying to get his confidence back? Or are they trying to get two suckers like us to take him for 12-5? I don't know the answer to it. All I know is that this is such a big class drop that I would be remiss if I didn't have him on top.
Absolutely. I can't believe you suggested that, because honestly, when I saw him on there, that was my first instinct, was to think, wow, maybe I should take this horse.
But here's the thing about it, right? He's non-winners are 2 eligible. So let's suppose that he has some issues, that he's not the horse that he was when he broke his maiden last year. Okay, fine. He's eligible for non-2, non-3, and non-4, if we can get a non-4 to go. But even if we dropped him off the claim and he won non-2 and non-3, we're still going to break even on him. So
here's the question for our viewers and the betting public. Do you single a horse like Lucky Delfino in here?
I think based on the difficulty in the sequence, both the pick 5 and pick 6 sequences, where there is a lot of tricky races, for me, you almost have to. Only because if you don't, you have to go 3 or 4 deep to get coverage, and I think that's going to be too costly for my wallet.
Well, we differ in our second and third place selections, but we are in agreement with the 7, Lucky Delfino, and we'll see if Pete and I take him home later. So we're going to move on to the 6th race, and this is a maiden special weight. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and upward, going to be going 7 furlongs on the main track. Again, no scratches or jockey changes in this race. We've got a field of 9, and I went with the 6, Miss Major. You went with the 5, Princess of Thieves, who I have in second. Tell me why you like Princess of Thieves.
Well, I would really like to talk to George Weaver before I go to the wagering windows here and find out just how good she trains on the main track. Because speaking candidly, if she can stand up on the main track as well, or even as quarter of as well as she's been running on the grass, she'll win this, and she'll win it easy. She's the only filly that's really solidly keeping special weight company lines. We can talk about that in a second, but she gets Lasix. She was really, really, really headstrong in her last race. I don't think she's quick enough to make the lead going 5/8 on the grass, and I don't think George does either. So the options were simple. Do we put her sprinting on the main track, or do we continue to try to run her long on the grass? They're going to try the experiment. I think it's a well-meant experiment, and I think she'll be heavily favored, as she should be. The question is, does she dirt?
That was my only question, and that's why I could only put her in second. But as a daughter of Colonel John, she really should like the surface switch. A lot to like with her. Had to put her on the ticket. I ended up going with the 6 on top. That's Miss Major. Finished a solid second against State-Bred Maidens last time out, and it was her first start in almost 9 months. Going to stretch out today, but should be fitter this time around for trainer Giuseppe Iadisernia, and Eddie Castro is going to be aboard. Another common thread that we have on the ticket is the 8, Tar and Feather.
Yeah, I think if you're a multi-leg player, for me, you have to go 5/8 only or single the 5 here, especially if you don't single Lucky Delfino. Here's your single. If not, you just use the 8. For me, this is the 2 contenders. I have big-time issues with everybody else in terms of their company lines. I think it's one of my favorite angles in horse racing, and some people don't necessarily understand what I mean when I say phony form. And Miss Major kind of is a perfect illustration of that, and by explaining it to you, she's now going to win. But Miss Major ran for $25,000 in her debut run. It was a field of 5. She got beat 32 lengths while finishing 4th. Comes off an extended layoff into special weight company, goes from 10-1 to 6-1 while stepping up in class off a bad race, and runs a good second. That in itself should tell you the depth of the field that she was racing against, and in that case, those horses are horses I like to try to beat when the public starts to get wise to them.
Well, with Tar and Feather, if you take a look at the pedigree here, she would be much the best in this race.
Yeah.
A full sister to 2010 Eclipse champion 2-year-old Awesome Feather. Going to be making her first start since early February for trainer Stanley Gold. But we could be seeing a bit of deja vu because something very similar happened on Sunday with
Southern Barbecue.
Trainer Stanley Gold sent out Southern Barbecue, a full sibling to a multiple Grade 1 winner in Jackson Bend, coming off a long layoff. Went off at 17-1 and scored a very nice victory with, Tyler Gaffleone in the irons, who's going to be aboard Tar and Feather. So that might be an angle that you want to watch for in this race. So we'll move on to race number 7 now, and this is a $50,000 maiden claimer. 3-year-olds are going to be going a mile and a 16th on the turf course, and we are going to take a look back at the last start from a horse named Sustainability.
Good.
And good, Pete likes that. I'm very glad. And this is from April 22nd. This is a maiden 35 race. We're going to see the 3 Sustainability make a pretty nice rally in the stretch, but he is going to run into some trouble for sure. Take a look at him here. He's going to steady when a hole closes up right in front of him, right here. The jockey has to take up on him. Obviously loses some momentum there. Keeps running on. He's going to finish 4th, but only beaten 2 lengths. That was his turf debut, which I thought was pretty strong. Should move forward off of that effort with a better trip for trainer Gustavo Delgado.
Yeah, I agree completely. It's interesting to me with Sustainability. I was doing a TVG hit for Gulfstream Park the last time this horse ran, and Matt Carruthers really liked this horse, and I had to try to get him to make his case for me. He made his case. I thought he was absolutely insane, especially with the 9-to-1 price, and this horse ran really, really, really well, as you touched on, with company lines. He just couldn't quicken up through that hole that day, but he's not in against the strong field of 50 maidens. This is another situation where when you look at who's going to go favorite in here, your play, the 7 Major Anthem, he got beat not once but twice for $16,000 against suspect runners at Tampa. One of my absolute go ahead and let them beat me. If a horse loses for $16,000 maidens, God bless you if you can get him to win for 50, but you're not going to win with my money on him. It's just one of those things. If he lost for 16, why would I think he could beat 50?
Because last time out, he finished 2nd, but beaten only a length in a maiden special weight at Tampa on April 25th, and that was his first start with blinkers. They really did him a world of good, and they're going to stay on today for trainer Robert Smith. I thought he was definitely worth a look. We are race 7. This one is 7-2 on the morning line. Tyler Gaffleone's going to be riding. A lot to like about him, I think. But obviously, Pete's entitled to his opinion, and he likes the 8 on top, Sustainability, but you also have the 2 on the ticket, Metaphorically, which Ron and I had some fun with last week on the show. Tell me what you like about him.
Well, he took a ton of action in his debut. He was 7-2 on his debut. He showed some speed and chased some pretty quick splits. The winner of that race, Great Harbor K, won off the screen for trainer Kirk Zadie. Metaphorically, he's now going on the grass and going long. You have to think, if it's going to do that this quick, about 30 days out after his last race, did they really have intentions of trying this as the main goal for this horse? Panici on the grass is so underrated it's not funny, and the price will be right because he had 32 lengths in his loss last time out, but he was at 7-2 to do it, and that margin was inflated because Great Harbor K won off the screen.
Well, we both have the 3 True Diplomacy on our tickets, capping our tickets, and this one finished a length behind Major Anthem. So if you like this horse, you have to like Major Anthem in that April 25th start. Trained by Dennis Manning Jr. Think he should move forward in his first start on the grass and should benefit from the class relief. This is his first time ever running for a tag.
Well, I'm going on record, and I suppose that if I'm wrong about this, I should have to buy Katie waffles, but anybody who's coming out of the race won by Aurora's Kid. He was a first-time starter from the stable of Joan Scott, drawn in the 10-hole. He ran well, but he didn't impress off the screen well. I think this is a step up for the Tampa horses, and as everybody knows, I'm a huge Tampa horse guy. I just don't flatter these company lines for my money in this race. Definitely
a little bit of a step up, and we always have to see how they translate when they come over here. So we will see that in the 7th race. We're going to cap the day with the 8th race, a maiden special weight. We're going to take a quick look at a video from the 9 Courtly Lark, who I have on the top of my ticket today. And this is from April 19th. This is a maiden special weight. Courtly Lark takes the lead into the stretch, just gets caught late, you're going to see. And this was her first start in more than 9 months. It is logical to think that she was just tired coming back from so much time off and really should move forward today in second start off the layoff. Her trainer David Fox, daughter of Shakespeare, is bred to love going a mile on the grass. And this is just going to be her 3rd career start. There you see there, just caught at the wire.
I have nothing more to add to that. I actually used that filly on top as well. So Courtney Lark is another horse that this race is a 2 or 3 deep race for me in the pick 5. She's at the top of the class if she fires anything like she did her last time.
The 6 Happily Ever is the other horse that I want to mention who's very intriguing. Going to debut for the Phil Gleaves barn and race with Lasix for the first time. Finished 3rd in her career debut for the Bill Mott barn. That was last September at Belmont. Coming off a long layoff, but very well bred. Daughter of Smart Strike and a graded stakes place Dynaformer mare. Very intriguing.
Yeah, I think she might need one. That was the reason she made the bottom of my ticket. She did make my ticket. The 7 Neville might get overlooked in the wagering, and is probably a horse that you want to include on your exotic wagers. Trainer Joe Hennessy has taken over for the Arundel horses. Joe does most of the farm training up that way, and he sprung with some big price horses already. Neville was 5th last time out, but there was a repeat winner in there. It was a full field, and a horse only got beat 3 lengths. Prado sticks around to ride it on the callback. I think this horse merits consideration if Courtney Lark doesn't fire her best race.
7-2 on the morning line. Definitely something to like there. Well, we have given you plenty of options, and that's going to be our super high 5 race today. So we'll see if we gave you the top 3, and you can pick the other 2. Always a tough but very exciting and intriguing bet. Ron always says it. I agree with him. I don't know how they play this thing sometimes, but it is such a challenge, and I admire everybody that plays that. Played it a couple times, but have yet to break through on it, but that's definitely a goal of mine. But enjoy the racing today. Again, we've got 8 races. The Rainbow Six begins in race number 3 with a big carryover and a big carryover in the pick 5 starting in race number 4. For Pete, I'm Katie. Enjoy the day and best of luck to you in your selections. Pete's going to stay on to give you all the extra scratches and changes for today's card that you need to be aware of when you are playing these races. Have a good one.
She owes me waffles already.